In future fighting machines, we get inside the weird, wired world of defense development. This time, ocean airstrikes. Thermal wear for soldiers. And sneaky snipers. As hard as an American rock band power chord. It's the Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carriers.
Whenever there's a crisis in the world, one of the first questions asked by the US president is, where are the carriers? And that's because the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier is still perhaps the most potent expression of military power anywhere in the world today. It's 4.5 acres of flight deck, it's 70 aircraft, it's 90,000 tons of diplomacy.
It's 90,000 tons of weaponry. And this is one ex-president the current one might want to call on. The USS Ronnie Reagan, coming to an ocean near you soon. It's the latest Nimitz, only taking about 5 years to build him, and he could be kept busy.
We've seen 4 American carriers deploy into the Gulf and into the Indian Ocean. They've been playing a very active role in the air operations against the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda group in Afghanistan. It's particularly important for the US government because the carrier has given them a logistically autonomous and self-sustaining capability to deliver maritime air power independent of host nation support. And that's been particularly significant given the sensitivity of some of the Gulf states over this operation.
US carriers can launch up to 150 airstrikes a day, taking out more targets than any terrorist could muster. Each ship hosts 20 F-14 Tomcats, 36 FA-18 Super Hornets, the major carrier-borne strike weapon. They've got 4 of these E-2C Hawkeye maritime surveillance aircraft and a bunch of other planes and helicopters to boot. It's crammed to the rafters with 6,000 crew. It's a floating city ploughing through the ocean at up to 30 knots.
The Nimitz-class carriers are powered by 2 nuclear reactors driving 4 steam turbines and producing something like 280,000 shaft horsepower. Now that means that in a 24-hour period, a Nimitz-class carrier can sail up to 600, 700 miles, allowing itself to redeploy itself into a new theatre and achieve a decisive tactical advantage when it's launching its aircraft.
The FA-18F Super Hornet. It's the latest, bigger, better version of the multi-mission jet, which can carry over 8,000 kilograms of weapons. $60 million worth of naval aviation, and you might have seen a few doing their dirty business recently.
The F-18F is the U.S. Navy's latest strike fighter, and so it is carrier-based.
Yeah, we know that. But seeing as the Super Hornet has an extended combat endurance up to 2 hours and 15 minutes, what's it got to drop?
On the fuselage station is an AIM-120 AMRAAM missile, which is actively guided or radar-guided missile for air-to-air combat. On the inboard station is the JSOW Joint Standoff Weapon, which is GPS guided. It's a bomb.
You don't say.
Of course, this is the tailhook used for arrested landings aboard U.S. aircraft carriers.
Hope it catches. This is the latest in rubber band brake technology. These warships don't even stop for gas. The nuclear reactors only need a top-up every 15 years. No chance to pick up reward points then. The last Nimitz arrives in 2008 as a transition to a new class, the CVN-X. The US wants them cheaper. Watch out for sailors in the dole queue.
One of the main methods of reducing through-life costs is reducing manpower on board. Are there ways, perhaps, of using robotics to refuel and rearm aircraft, taking people away from the dangerous environment of the flight deck, and yet not causing any diminution in operational effectiveness?
This sneak preview shows they've got some way to go. These dummies are trying out the steam catapults, nicknamed Fat Cats. My Lilo could do a better job. Future Warrior looks at stuff that'll help the 21st century squaddie kill and not be killed. It's that old chestnut, the fog of war. How can you see through it? You might think a fancy gizmo like this would do the job. But night sights intensify the image, so try it on in daylight, say goodbye to your retina. What you need to spot the enemy is a thermal imaging device. As usual, the poor squaddie doesn't have one just yet. But in the future, they reckon he'll have a thermal view through the smoke, so he can even see the hot rounds that nasty soldier's spurting out. This heat-seeking device will be linked to a visor display. It's all part of the plan for an integrated helmet-mounted system. Just check out the target, take aim, and he won't even see you shoot. But what about being spotted yourself? Helicopters and spy planes often use thermal imaging to track down the hapless foot soldier. They get all the high-tech stuff. You can run, but you can't hide. Normal camouflage might work in the field, but to a thermal imaging device, you're a sitting, soon-to-be crispy and not particularly aromatic duck. But there is a way to stop those hot-spotting rotters. From the Honey Monster School of Hiding, it's the anti-thermal image suit. This layered covering disperses the heat from the body with a special coating, but the formula is classified. We don't want the enemy to go invisible when the thermal detectors switch on, but our boys will. In an instant, he's gone. The sniper, the ultimate one-man death machine. But are these crafty crack shots still relevant on the high-tech modern battlefield? Sharp shooting is a skill that's centuries old, but soldiers are still queuing up to learn the art of covert killing.
You saw the arrival of rifled weapons even in the 17th century, and gradually this led to the development of whole units in British Army. It would have been the Rifle Brigade and so forth, to take advantage of rifled muskets with greater range, greater accuracy. And this is a trend that's progressed, though nowadays with everyone with good weapons, you've then seen the specialisation of the sniper. Seems strange in a modern high-tech battlefield that you should want something as primitive as a sniper, a guy who's going to go out, lie up, camouflage himself, and with a rifle, working on the principle of one shot, one kill, take out various enemy assets. It doesn't seem to go with the idea of electronics, laser-guided this and that. But if you look at it, a sniper is a multi-role asset. As well as the shooting side, acts as reconnaissance, route proving, area denial, you name it, has more than one mission. And this is in a single man or as a pair when they operate in that way.
This is the sniper rifle, basically. It's called an L96, 7.62 in calibre, range just over 1 kilometre, okay, with a one-shot, probably one-shot capability out to 600 metres. Before we take a shot, we'll pull the barrel through, because when you're stalking, any crap that's got up the barrel obviously will blow out and give your position away. So you make sure the barrel's nice and clean. Okay, you could lay a bit of hessian down on the floor as well so you don't kick up any dust. Say your camera's the actual rifle, okay, you've got some cover there and some cover there. Okay, and shooting in between that, from any angle, you'll be invisible. Okay, only to the person who's going to get it will be able to see you. Hopefully, you won't be expecting it.
Instead of using standard small arms calibre, 7.62 as the standard one, to get the range, to get the knockdown power and also the accuracy, people have gone for 50 calibre. Big round, big muzzle velocity, big slug, and if you hit anything, it's going to go down. Offensive missions, you might be saying, we know that there is an enemy base or there's an enemy unit in this location. We want you to go and take out the following man or men, so go out and do it. or defensive is we suspect the enemy is coming down this area, they're using these trails, lie up in there, and if they come along, snipe them and prevent them from using these access areas. So it's area denial, which is strange if you consider one or two people almost denying platoons and companies freedom of manoeuvre. This is why snipers are so cost-effective. Units are saying, oh God, our command teams are being taken out, we can't communicate. And it's also a great morale breaker if all the unit knows is its leadership are falling down, being hit from a distance, from unknown direction. Major morale breaker. If you look at the standard snipers have to work to, they're looking for a clean headshot at 5 to perhaps tops of 800 metres, and they're looking for a chest shot at up to 1,000 metres. And even with all the telescopic sights, laser rangefinders and so forth, at the end of the day, that's very impressive shooting to be able to achieve those.
In Top Guns, we check out the best bits of kit in the bloody business of war. This time, surveillance planes. The Brits are getting a new Nimrod. The U-2, original, but is it best? The J-Stars is a great big eye in the sky. And spy flying unmanned with the Global Hawk. These are 4 of the best flying fact finders around, but which is Top Gun when it comes to the spy run? The MRA-4 is the new Nimrod due in service by 2004. This maritime surveillance platform has a range of nearly 10,000 kilometres, and at around $140 million a go, not too expensive. A crew of 8 handles over 800 sensors, with a fully upgraded tactical command system. It'll scan the entire Atlantic surface in minutes, then turn nasty with Harpoon anti-ship missiles, air-to-air weapons and torpedoes. Its 15-hour endurance tops the other manned aircraft in the test, should be a decent plane, an FFM factor of 5. The U-2. As expensive as a backstage pass, each plane will set you back $400 million. The latest model, the U-2S, entered service in 1994. Been around since the 50s, won't stop rocking till 2020. These planes are special, flying at up to 80,000 feet, and it's done well, apart from the odd international incident. Mega high altitude is hard on man and machine. 4 U-2 pilots have died in the 90s alone. The granddaddy of covert surveillance, but costly and in the twilight of its career. Time for a final swan song, but an FFM factor of 3. The J-Stars, that's Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar System to you and me. It's big, with a crew of up to 34 who control the battlefield, relaying info to ground bases. Can track targets over 250 kilometres, even over mountainous enemy terrain. That's if there are any targets there, of course. Computers tackle over 6 million operations a second. Now that's tech power. The J-Stars was rushed into action and did well in the Gulf, but in Bosnia its engines couldn't get it up to the required altitude. Too big for its own cowboy boots, it hasn't quite hit the mark yet. An FFM factor of 4. The Global Hawk is the hyper-efficient, high-flying Spire. Cruising at around 65,000 feet. They've sacked the pilot. It's unmanned. Wages must be too high. This will cost a mere $15 million. Even with base stations and expensive development, it's a fraction of its predecessors. Once programmed, it can cover 100 square kilometres in a day. From extreme altitude, this plane, dubbed the Killer Whale, can see clearly. Top tech for tracking terror. The usual problems, a crash has delayed things, but it should be in service soon. Interesting style, way cheaper, no dead pilots. An FFM factor of 5. The old guard were good. You never noticed them till they got caught red-handed and gave presidents red faces. But we're looking to the future. Cheap, Cheerful for the remote control generation, our top gun is the Global Hawk. Sorry, Bono, you've had your day. Sunrise, and this new warhorse is on its way. It's a gun. The 155mm lightweight self-propelled howitzer will travel on a Hercules and take a highway to the danger zone at 48 kilometers an hour. Future firepower for rapid reaction deployment. So futuristic it only exists in cartoon form. Computers take the aiming strain and just push the button for bombshell action. This British idea of 21st century artillery is a radical design. The 8x8 chassis will tackle the toughest terrain. The funky auto loader will prod in any shell you fancy, then the charge and you're in business. All that artillery action from inside an armour-plated comfort zone. The recoil on the gun hits the ground, saving the vehicle from battle wear and tear. Only problem is no turret means no 360-degree action. But 42 rounds on board should give it control of the digital battle space. The Army is training up special artillery automatons who can resupply the vehicle within 6 minutes. It's a repetitive job. Someone's got to do it. 1 projectile, 2 projectile, 3 projectile, 4. Fire a load of shells right up their back door. And once the adventure's over, it'll catch the last boat home. Fantasy Island firepower. In the shadows of a dark world where military secrets cost lives, exists a man with too much secret information. Trained by an organization that no longer exists. Pursued by undercover government operatives worldwide. His name is Paul Beaver. He's on the run. He's killing time.
Against the air threat, guns aren't enough anymore. Missiles kill other missiles and aircraft, but at greater ranges.
On the battlefield, no general's going to send his soldiers into harm's way. It's very simple. You've got to protect the soldiers. You've got to protect the troops. You've got to make sure that their lives are not in danger. You have to do that with missiles. Quick and easy. You have to stay alert. Anti-aircraft missile systems. Watch out for helicopters. Watch out for aircraft. Watch out for missiles. You need to be able to shoot down the unexpected. You've got to have your own missile system. Light, portable, simple to use, very effective. Unless you do that, people will die. There's a vogue now for light, flexible, rapid reaction forces. If you're going to use those, you've got to protect them. You've got to have missile systems that go with them. Man-pads, man-portable air defense systems. You've got a number of them. You've got the Starstreak.
The infantry's high-velocity protector, 5 times the speed of sound. Carried on the Stormer or on a Jeep. Mobile enough to keep up with the infantry. It uses kinetic energy darts and not explosives. So it's deadly against helicopters.
You've got the Mistral.
Rugged and dependable. More than 20 countries have the weapon. Others will buy it. The reason? It hits the target.
You've got the Stinger.
The Mujahideen's favorite in Afghanistan. Widely used elsewhere, highly effective, especially against those low-flying targets.
They all work, depends on the threat. Every general knows once he's deployed his forces, he's got to protect them. He might have airfields, his command posts, his ammunition dumps. He needs something that's flexible, yet effective. Range, 2.5 kilometers. What's the best? Rapier. It's called GNAS these days. Why is it so good? Its tracking radar's good, the warheads are good, very, very accurate, and it hits the target.
Short-range air defense for the Arctic or for the jungle. The blind fire radar sees the target, and the missile rides a beam to the kill.
The air threat is everywhere. You've got to go as fast as the tanks. Vehicles with missiles under armour. He's got to protect them against helicopters and against aircraft. He's got Roland.
Designed by Germany and France. Recently updated, still as deadly as it was 20 years ago.
He's got a series of systems that are protected against the threat themselves. How effective are they? Well, Saddam Hussein and General Galtieri used them. The RAF will tell you how effective they were. Missiles are good, but the threat is getting better. The defences are getting better. But for now, the aircraft still has the upper hand, but only just.
Join us next time for more FFM frolics. And remember, kids, guns and bombs do kill. People were harmed in the making of this programme.